Hey, if you guys want to watch this video, that's totally cool. But I'm making it mostly for my dude Shutterslaps, who's one of the most insightful cats and talented YouTubers I know. If you haven't seen his recent video about how gear does matter, you're missing out. Still here? Okay, let's do this. Hey, the best tune in the Rankin Bass rom-com Return of the King is Where There's a Whip, There's a Way. It's an earworm, man, and it's bonkers. It's like if David Lynch wrote a song for Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and then pitched it down 2 octaves in the studio. It's the kind of song you'll never see in a coffeehouse open mic, and I think that's a shame. Check it out in the link below. But look, the whole Rankin Bass Return of the King movie is bonkers, really. When you watch the start of the film, you immediately wonder if there's something wrong with your copy, because it jumps into the story with some awkward exposition that attempts to summarize the first 2 Lord of the Rings novels in a few sentences. But sometimes you have to make a bold choice and hope it works out. Well, that's what happened to me in the case of my most pro camera. It's this one, the Canon 1D Mark IV. I bought it near the tail end of my exploration of the Fujifilm X Pro line. In fact, I bought all 3 X Pro models, put them through their paces in a variety of contexts, and ultimately decided that as cool as they are, they just aren't my jam. Did I consider a video about that experience? Sure. And then I promptly dismissed it lest I get torn apart by brand devotees. In any case, just before I sold my favorite of the 3, the X Pro 2, I saw this Canon on MPB for the ludicrous price of $27. Wait, what? Why so cheap, you ask? Well, per the listing, the shutter count was about 400,000. And though the camera recorded to both card slots, something weird was happening in the guts of the machine, and the only way to get the images off those cards was to plug the camera directly into a computer. In other words, when you took the cards out, the images couldn't be read by a card reader. I don't know, man, that last part didn't seem so bad to me. I mean, the modern Leica M11 has internal storage after all, so I thought I would imagine it like that. You know, a camera with 2 non-removable 32GB drives. And it's not a proprietary data port, it's just one of those relatively common USB deals. So $27, including shipping, and a few days later the 1D4 arrived. This camera is a little dated by modern standards, 2010 or so maybe you're wondering about salient specs. Well, here's the most important one, it's heavy as hell. Like really. And maybe that's a part of the charm. Similarly charming is the 16-megapixel APS-H sensor, which gives you a 1.3 times crop, so my 40mm prime acts like a 52mm lens. Then my 50mm like a 65mm. I think it'll shoot fast. DP Review tells me 10 frames per second in continuous high speed, but I don't really shoot it that way. When I looked at the custom white balances, there were a bunch of profiles for colleges and high schools in the Dakotas, so I reckon this was a sports shooter. Looks like it'll also do 1080p video at 24, 25, or 30 frames per second. Good to know, I suppose. What else? Like I said, 2 card slots, albeit faulty in my case. Weather sealing, Digic 4 processor optical viewfinder, live view LCD, and maybe the most inconsequential cool figure that I absolutely love, the top and rear displays light up in blue rather than the yellow-orange of the 5D. This is Pro after all, so let's get serious. While we're at it, let's talk some pros and cons on this beast, which is, on the face of it, absurd given the fact that I paid less for this camera than I paid for a burrito on the New York State Thruway. But let's go through the exercise anyway. Pro number 1, the auto ISO. I trust this camera to actually honor the minimum shutter speed I set in auto ISO. For me, that's 1/125th. Most of my other cameras take the minimum shutter speed setting as a suggestion, but the 1D4 treats it like a non-negotiable, which is what I want, especially in the era of Lightroom noise reduction. I can shoot this thing up to ISO 6400 and feel pretty darn good about the images. Con number 1, the sensor size. I'm a real estate shooter by trade, so the 1.3 times crop puts me in a weird spot. Do I get a lens made for crop sensors and then deal with the vignetting? Or do I buy an uber expensive full-frame lens that can shoot at 12mm so I can get the right angle of view? Answer? Neither. I'm not going to use it for architectural photography. Pro number 2, the sensor size. Wait, what? Where there's a whip, there's a way, man. This may be a questionable real estate shooter, but it kills it in portraiture, especially in controlled light scenarios where it makes sense to shoot with more depth of field. I've used my 40mm f2.8 for multiple headshot jobs, and it worked like a champ. Con number 2, it's big and loud. Certainly not a good fit for traveling light or stealth. Alright, enough gabbling. Hey, a trip down memory lane. The primrose path through Mordor even. So thanks for walking it with me. You're the Samwise I always dreamed of. Or maybe I'm the Samwise and you're Frodo. Wait, it's gotta be your bull. I have derailed, but hey, happy shooting and have a great day.